Do you really need a mower that folds up for easy storage, or is this just a party trick so that when your friends or family come over, they'll see it and ask, hey, why is that mower standing up in the corner like that? Now, to be honest, I always thought this was not all that cool until I got to see one in action, so to speak. However, it won't matter if your mower can float on the ceiling if you don't do the most basic maintenance on it, otherwise, what's the point? In today's video, we take a look at this Toro lawnmower, and the problem is that we want to make sure it lasts for another decade because the cost to replace it is insane. Now, to be honest, it most likely will survive another 10 years, but we want it to perform just like new, which means we need to do some basic maintenance to it. Now, I may have already fixed this mower in a different video, so if you want to see that video, there should be a link to it at the top of the screen or at the end of the video. But before I fixed it, I had to give it a quick cleaning, that way I don't get dirt in places like inside the carb, the fuel tank, or even inside the engine. While I clean this mower, I'm going to talk about it and its overall condition because this has to be one of the nicest used mowers from this year I've ever seen. And what I mean by that is I initially thought this mower wasn't used all that much, but come to find out that's far from the truth. And the facts about this mower and its usage might just surprise you and shows what might just happen if you take care of something. So it was just standing in its storage position, and as you just saw, it doesn't take up all that much floor space, which is great if you have a small garage. Also, putting the handle up or down has to be one of the easiest designs I've ever seen. Whoever came up with this idea deserves a raise or at least a promotion because this is a great way to increase sales. Now, to be quite frank, the only thing that I can see wrong with this mower is that it's dirty, but that only means it's being used as a tool, which is exactly what they designed it to be. In fact, most all the stickers are still intact and there are very few scratches on it, if any, and overall you can tell that the owner does not just bash it into items in the yard, which is quite the change from what I typically see. I swear, most times if there was something in the yard that needed to be moved, most would just use the mower to push it out of the way, but not with this one. The only real crime being committed here is the lack of maintenance, but I can't really blame them because that seems to be the norm when it comes to lawn equipment. So I'm not really surprised anymore when I find a mower that's had zero maintenance done to it. In fact, I think I'd be more surprised when I find one that's had some maintenance done to it, either by the owner or by a repair shop. Now, as you just saw, the air filter was almost completely packed with dirt and grass, but I put it back on that way to see just how the engine was running with it in place. Now, strangely enough, all the fluids are in surprisingly good shape, especially the oil, but then again, it wouldn't hurt to change it so that we won't have to worry about it for a long time. Now, the oil level is a bit higher than where I want it to be, but it's better than not being enough. Now, at this point, I think it's time to start it up and see just how it runs and make sure we don't have any other issues to worry about. Now, as you can see, even with too much oil in the engine and an air filter that's more than likely blocking a lot of air from making it to the engine, it still starts and runs just like it's supposed to. That just goes to show you how resilient these little engines can be. Now, it's nowhere near to an ideal condition, and yet it's still going to work to mow the grass year after year until one day it can't. I'm not sure when the last time the oil was changed, but to be honest, it's in pretty good condition, so more than likely it was probably changed not too long ago. Now, just remember that you can change your own oil and take that used oil to most automotive stores or even some big box stores to have it recycled. Otherwise, if you have a diesel vehicle and some time to filter that used oil, you know what you can do with it. Now, as you can see by the condition of the cutting edge on the blade, the owner did a very good job of not running over items they're not supposed to. There are a couple of small gouges in it, but nothing terrible. Now, while it's off the mower, I'm going to go ahead and sharpen it and then put it back on. Now, of course, you don't need to use a mid-sized impact to take off or put back on your blade, but it does help, especially if you have any sports injuries. Now, I'm not going to add any oil to the engine just yet. We'll do that later on when we're ready, but in the meantime, I do want to look at this terrible looking air filter and see just how packed it is with dirt and grass. And as you can see, on one side of the filter, the pleats are completely packed, while the other side doesn't look as bad. Of course, that is a matter of opinion, but that's probably how some of the air is making it past the filter and into the engine. Okay, so here's the deal. If this filter is as bad as it looks and still allows the engine to start and run, then there's nothing wrong with just cleaning the old filter and reusing it then. Of course, that's what I would do on my own personal mower, but for this one, I will be eventually replacing the filter. Now, if you were going to buy a single air filter, it'll be several dollars. However, if you were to buy a pack of 3 or more, then each one will be very affordable. But then what are you going to do with the rest of the filters then? Now, the best answer, at least for me, is to have a ready supply of filters for future maintenance, but considering that most owners don't even care about current maintenance, I just keep knocking out the dirt from the old filters and reusing them instead. So as long as the filters are not soaked with oil, I just keep using the old ones, of course after knocking out as much dirt out of them as possible. Now, the engine oil is a very interesting subject because there are a lot of people out there with varying views on it. Now, first you have the ones that never bother to change the oil, and then you have the ones that never bother to check the oil. Then you have the ones who like to change their oil each and every year whether it needs it or not. And the truth of the matter, at least from my point of view, is somewhere in the middle. As long as there's oil in there, whether it's always fresh or dark as space, the engine will survive. But if the oil level is lower than the minimum and it's ran this way for a very long time, you're not going to like what happens to the engine, but at least you do have some time before anything bad happens to it. Now, from what I can tell, I do believe the owner either changed their own oil at some point or had it changed by someone else. That's because this mower is several years old and the original oil would not look this good. Now, the owner did mention to me that the wait times at the repair shops were absolutely insane and they wouldn't be able to get their mower back in a timely manner, which leads me to think that they at least know where the repair shop is at and that they've been there before. Now, if you take your mower to the repair shop and you find out that they were scheduled out for at least 3 to 4 weeks, do what this person did, which is to find someone else who can help you. Otherwise, you can do it yourself, and I'm here to tell you that it's not that difficult to do. In fact, if you don't trust someone in a video to show you, just read the owner's manual and that should help you out as well. How about this? If you know that you're not going to bother to try to change your own oil, at least pay a friend to do it for you. Now, you may not be motivated enough to do it yourself, but your friend's going to be with the money you're going to give them. I mean, it doesn't even have to be money. It could be food, drinks, or any tradable commodity. All they need is a reason and they'll do it, and in the end, your mower is going to be good for at least another couple of years. So to recap, we've covered cleaning or replacing your dirty air filter and then taking care of your oil. So is that all you need to do when talking about maintenance then? That's pretty much about it when dealing with the basics of mower care, but you can always go a bit further, and of course it's up to you and your comfort level. Now, we already took the blade off to sharpen it, which will make the engine work a lot less when cutting the grass, but of course some people may not have a way to sharpen it, and if that is you, you can always take it to someone else who has the ability to do just that. And if you don't want to do that either, then just buy a new blade and then call it a day, otherwise start making some phone calls. So if those are the basics, what are the advanced steps then? Well, this might get a bit touchy for some folks, but you can go a bit too far when dealing with maintenance, and believe me, I'm pretty sure I've been there. So in my opinion, what do I call going too far when it comes to doing maintenance then? Well, it depends on what you see as being reasonable. I have been known to open transmissions to inspect the lubricant that's inside it, and if it needs it, I'll replace it. Now, I typically only do that job to the all-metal transmissions, and that's because they can leak from their gaskets and cause some serious drive issues. However, I don't like to open the ones that are mainly plastic because they're typically closed up with sealer, so they're unlikely to leak out any of their lubricant. Now, applying a lubricant to the wheel bolts isn't all that strange, but taking off the wheels to do it might be a step too far for most people. But then again, I based that job on how well the wheels were spinning in the first place, and I don't always take them off to do it. The strange part is that most would see what I'm doing right now, which is cleaning this mower, to be a bit excessive, which I have to agree with. However, I also consider this job to be a once-in-a-while job, done either every couple of years or in this case for a mower that I've never personally serviced before. In fact, if you recall, I worked on a Honda mower recently that I haven't worked on in a couple of years, and in that video you can see that it wasn't a complete mess, it just had some dirt here and there. But I didn't bother to clean that one only because it was already in great shape. Now for this one, if this mower should come back to me in a couple of years, depending on how dirty it is, I might give it a quick cleaning. But since I've already gone through the trouble of taking off all the covers and cleaning what little dirt might be getting in the way of keeping this engine from getting cool, it's doubtful that I'll need to do it anytime soon again. Of course, it's up to you if you want to use your garden hose on your mower each and every time you mow with it, but you do need to be aware that spraying off the mower more times than you need to could lead to rust showing up. Now, to be honest, I only clean my personal mower once a year, either in the middle of the season or at the end of the season, depending upon how much buildup of grass there is under the mowing deck. And after each and every mowing session, I either use compressed air or my leaf blower to blow off any dirt or grass clippings from the mower. I am not trying to win a car show here, I'm just wanting to keep the mower from getting too much buildup after each and every mow. So here's my take on it. If you decide to not waste any of your time cleaning your mower because you feel like it's not worth doing, then I totally agree with you. But take some of that time you just saved from not cleaning your mower and instead invest it into at least checking the oil level and its condition. Now doing it that way will in the end save you from having to buy a new mower every couple of years and save you thousands of dollars in the process. Of course, one of the biggest reasons I even bother cleaning the stuff I work on besides the issue of FOD is because it's always nice to work on and deliver a clean machine back to the owner. Most people never realize how good their machine looks until I bring it back to them, and seeing their faces when they see it is well worth the effort. But then again, it is just a tool to be used and hopefully not abused, and if that's what they want to do with it, then I'll support it. Now that this mower is finally cleaned up, we can start the process of keeping it working the way it's supposed to, but you'll have to wait till the next video to see that. So my question is, have you ever taken a garden hose to your mower before, or do you prefer to use a leaf blower instead? And if you don't do either, well, that's okay too. Thank you for watching. I really do appreciate your time here. Please feel free to ask me any questions about this project or about your own projects, and I hope to see you in the next video.